Hello everybody, welcome back. Now I'm going to explain about servlet collaboration. What do you mean by servlet collaboration? Servlet collaboration means the two or more servlets communicating with each other is known as servlet collaboration. And this servlet collaboration is of two types. The first one is the request dispatcher method, and second one is the send redirect method. And the request dispatcher interface provides the facility of dispatching the request to another resource. It may be a HTML servlet or JSP. This interface can also be used to include the content of another resource also. It is one of the ways of servlet collaboration. Servlets are created by the programmer, but the links between the servlets is done by the administrator. And this chaining concept is given in Servlet 2.0 and 2.1. Later, this chaining concept is removed from administrator and given to the programmer in Servlet 2.2. In Servlet 2.0 and 2.1 specifications, we have a concept called servlet chaining, and it is done by the administrator. Whereas in Servlet 2.2 specification, the servlet chaining concept is moved from administrator side to the programmer by introducing the request dispatcher interface. Request dispatcher is replacement of servlet chaining. By using request dispatcher interface, a programmer can perform the linking between one servlet to the another servlet. By using request dispatcher, only the following two operations are possible. That is forwarding a client request from one servlet to another servlet using forward method, and including a response of one servlet into another servlet using include method. That is, the request dispatcher interface has provided two methods only, that is forward method and include method. Forwarding is done at server side, so client is unknown of forwarding. Forwarding means permanently moving the control. So if control is forwarded from servlet 1 to servlet 2 permanently, we cannot again forward from servlet 1 to servlet 3. While forwarding a client request from one servlet to another servlet, then the last servlet in the chain is responsible to give the response back to the client. While forwarding a client request from one servlet to another servlet, both the servlets are available at the server side and forwarding is done at the server side. So the client is unknown of this forwarding. So the client is assuming that response has come from servlet 1, but actually servlet 2 has given the response. When request is forwarded from one servlet to another servlet, then automatically along with request, the parameters are also forwarded. Forwarding a request means control jumps from one servlet 1 to another servlet permanently. So it is not possible to forward the request at a time to multiple servlets from a single source. And while forwarding requests from one servlet to another servlet, container creates and uses only one pair of request and response. If we want to forward a client request from servlet 1 to servlet 2, both servlets must run either within the same web application or in different web applications of same server. But it is not possible to forward from one server to another server. That is, forwarding is not possible across servers. And while, okay. Uh, Okay, now in case of including, when one servlet is including the response, this is now the second case, that is include method. In the case of include method, when one servlet is including the response of another servlet, then the response is partially generated by the source servlet, that is servlet 1, and partially generated by the destination servlet, that is servlet 2. In case of including to the client response, will be sent by servlet 1. So client is assuming that the response is completely generated by servlet 1, but actually it is combinedly generated by servlet 1 and servlet 2. This intimation is not given to the client, so a client is unknown about including the response. While including the response, the control is temporarily shifted from servlet 1 to servlet 2, and again control comes back to servlet 1. So it is not possible to include more than one servlet response into single servlet. And while including one servlet response to another servlet, along with the control, automatically the request parameters also go to next servlet. While including the response, the container creates only a single pair of request and response objects, and same pair is used in all the servlets. While including the response of one servlet into another servlet, both the servlet must both servlets must exist either within a single web application or different web applications of same server, but across servers is not possible. Now we'll see what are the limitations of request dispatcher. Request dispatcher can only forward or include within the same server, but it does not work across servers. While forwarding or including, the destination resource must be a Java enabled resource only. It is not possible to work with non-Java resources. So this is about the request dispatcher, and so I hope you understood this request dispatcher. Now I'll show you some example for this. This is the request dispatcher. First create a dynamic web project. Then inside the source, I had created one login.java. Two servlets I had created. One is login.java and welcome servlet.java. And we are also having a index.html and one web.xml. So all of you know this web.xml, the URL pattern which I used for login.java. That is, login is the URL pattern for login.java, and welcome is the URL pattern for welcome servlet. Okay, excuse me, and I think this is not there. Okay, so first always the control starts from this index.html. Here inside the form action I have given login, method is post. I'm using input text box, type equal to text, name equal to username, password input type equal to password, name equal to user pass, input type equal to submit, value equal to login. So when I enter the name and password and I say submit, the form action goes to login.java because the URL given here is login. Login is the URL of login.java. Then here public plus login extends HTTP servlet, public void do post, HTTP servlet request, HTTP servlet response, throws servlet exception, comma IO exception. Then first set the set content type, response.set content type of text slash HTML. Then print writer out equal to response.getWriter. Here, whatever username you have entered, username and password you have entered in this index.html, that is acquired using the request.get parameter of username and user password and stored in this string. Username is stored in string L and password is stored in string P. If password that is P dot equals Pavani. Then request dispatcher RD equal to request dot get request dispatcher of welcome. That is, if password matches, then the request dispatcher uh, will go to the will forward it to welcome. That is RT dot forward request and response objects. Here welcome is the URL for welcome servlet. When it goes to welcome servlet, then public class welcome servlet extends HTTP servlet, public void do post, HTTP servlet request request, HTTP servlet response response, throws servlet exception IO exception. Then response dot set content type text slash HTML, print writer out equal to response dot get writer. Then string m equal to request dot get parameter. This welcome servlet will get the username from this login.java and it will store in n. And it says out.print welcome n. So when you run this program, first go to index.html, right click on the index.html, and if you run on the server, select Tomcat server and select the particular project, that is request dispatcher, and say finish. So the server is starting here. So once the server started, it is asking for name and password. So if I enter name as Pavani and password I'm entering as Pavani, then I say login. Then it goes to welcome servlet and then it gives the message as welcome Pavani. So this is about, that is request dispatcher is forwarding the request to the welcome servlet. And the welcome servlet is outputting the response. So this is about the request dispatcher interface. So hope you understood, and continue in the next class.